put our minds to it that this country can top that in 6 months.
Shortly after the launch of Sputnik 1 in 1957, America experienced a media uproar as the public realized that perhaps democracy could be defeated by the strength of communism. Both nations had previously announced their plans to launch artificial satellites in 1955, drawing starting lines in the race for space. And in the midst of the Cold War, this was a competition that went further than simple rivalry.
At that time, we didn't really know whether a human could survive in space. And here, boom, the Soviets send this guy to space, and he survived.
In 1961, President John F. Kennedy made a speech to Congress making it clear what he wanted from the space race.
Finally, if we are to win the battle that is now going on around the world between freedom and tyranny, the dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
President Kennedy realized that we had fallen behind, and he came out and said within 10 years we would land somebody on the moon. But the Russians had beaten us to getting people in orbit. And then a big part of that space race was that rocket technology. And a lot of the rocket technology came from World War II, where the Russians were able to get most of the really good rocket scientists in Berlin and bring them to Russia. And the United States got a few of the really good scientists and brought them to the United States. And von Braun was one of the most famous ones.
The United States intended to be the best in research, science, and technology. Therefore, the nation's budget was poured into education, financing the best research facilities, and purchasing the best materials that would help the U.S. rise as leaders in space technology and the world, proving that democracy and freedom prevailed against the tyranny of communism.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
A month after Yuri Gagarin of Russia becomes the first man in space, he is quickly followed by American Alan V. Shepard. In 1962, John Glenn of the U.S. orbits the Earth 3 times, and John F. Kennedy gives a speech at the football stadium at Rice University in Houston, Texas, a crucial research facility located near NASA. In this speech, Kennedy outlines the nation's goal to put a man on the moon before the end of the decade.
It is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time. And no nation which expects to be the leader of other nations can expect to stay behind in this race for space. And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it.
Soviet claims on the equality of women got their most dramatic exhibit, and the world had a new kind of heroine. She turned out to be far more feminine and charming than anyone had imagined.
In 1963, Russian cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova becomes the first woman in space. During the space race, America had stated that they had no intention of sending a woman into space. She was the only woman to be launched into space until the 1980s, when both Russia and America sent women into space. This signified a huge accomplishment for women as a whole and encouraged many more women to pursue science as a career. In 1965, Ed White performs the first spacewalk for America. However, 3 months earlier, Russia had sent up Alexei Leonov when he performed the first spacewalk ever. On July 20th, 1969, a legendary goal was finally achieved when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin famously landed on the moon, marking it with the immortal words, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." It was an amazing victory for the United States, and the public exploded with the knowledge that the flag on the moon was American.
Remember, we went into our den, and my father called us in there, and we still had the black and white TV, and me and my brother were sitting on the floor, and it was really kind of amazing to see them landing on the moon. So
we would have a man on the moon, and we would beat the Russians. And by the time the Russians got to the moon, the only thing they would find would be the American flag.
3-day fall.
That was the challenge. And then people say, "Well, what do we get for it? Oh, it's billions of dollars. You know, and what do we do? We land up in the moon. Big deal." But it created so many different industries because it was like artificial orange juice, Tang. You know, Tang. You could take Tang and put it in a cup and add water, and you had orange juice. And there was all kinds of crazy products. And in our case, we actually there were products that were developed into the multi-layer insulation, which we now use for reflective insulation for products all around the world. So some of the things that were developed for the space race helped America in technology in so many other areas. So that was the point. People were looking at return on investment, saying, you know, for every dollar spent in the space race, maybe we got $10 back in other technological areas. Well, that research came back and made America very effective. Well, I'm not sure how true that is, but that's what they claim. And I know for a fact it is true. I just don't know the extent that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting period of time.
The Soviet Union's launch of Sputnik 1 signified a monumental feat for the Soviets and technology for the world. It signified a feat in technology untouched ever before in history, and it sparked a competition that introduced groundbreaking technology that no one ever thought could be achieved. The National Aeronautics Space Administration, or NASA, was formed during the space race, which was responsible for nearly all space research and relations for the U.S., and the space race introduced developments in technology that are common household items today. Satellite TV, computers, carbon monoxide detectors, telemedicine such as programmable pacemakers and blood pressure monitors, virtual reality, and satellite navigation. Some question who won the space race: the Soviets, who time and time again accomplished astronomical feats months or even years before the US, or the Americans, who set and accomplished a lunar landing before the Soviets, the main goal set by Kennedy in the beginning of his presidency. The lasting effects of the space race are not about who won. They are about what it did for nationalism, for science and technology, and for the world.